Namaste. Today I am going to talk about why the remedial measure does not work with people. There are many people who say, I have given money for remedial measure, I have done the remedial measure, but it is not having an impact into my life across. What is the reason? I don't know. Maybe I am a cursed soul. Maybe for me the remedies does not work. Like that people talk about it, but that is not true. The first and the foremost problem in remedial measure is change. You should be willing to change. You should be willing to change objects, people, places, methodology across when you do the remedial measure. That is how it will produce massive impact into the person's life. There was a lady who came and who did the Sarpashanti Puja with us. She had done the Sarpashanti Puja only 3 times. She asked me, or 3 days. She asked me, how do I get married fast? I am already 31. I am having a problem. I told her that the main enemy of the entire problem is her mother. She should not listen to the mother. She should not listen to what her mother says. In fact, she should take the opposite route. Whom her mother says that she does not want to get married, she should go ahead and get married across. And she was quite shocked. Actually, she said, my mother has been rejecting the proposal for many times across as a person. Therefore, that is the main problem what we are having. So, I would reject the proposal of my mother. There was a proposal which came. She rejected immediately, and immediately she rejected her mother's advice and mother's opinion, and immediately she got married across. So the first and the foremost thing is willingness to change. If you are not willing to change, if you are not willing to change the small time or big time across. For example, there was a lady who came to me. Her second son, had a psychiatric issue. They were staying in the same place for a very long period of time across. And her name was called Meenakshi. She had a daughter, and she had worked in the organization across, government organization. She retired. She asked me, how do I go about it? I said, that house is very unlucky. There has been no trigger of good events in the life. Go out of the house. Go out of the house. You would be able to trigger the event across. The moment they went to the house, new house, they checked in the new house, they really got a very good proposal, and that girl of her got married. So the second point is, be willing to change the place. The place where you live might not have triggered the issues across, might not have triggered the things across. So there will be a place shift which will be happening the moment the remedial measure will be working across. So be willing to do the place shift. You would have got the indication, you would have got the idea about the place shift, but you are not willing to do. The moment the remedial measure energy starts flowing inside, there will be a churning in the place, and if the place is not a correct place, it will move. So that is one of the important problem with the remedial measure. The third important problem with the remedial measure is the law of choice. There was a lady who did the remedial measure, and she started coming to the point where she had to give up everything with regard to her career. Then she had to get married. And so she was dilly-dallying the decision across. She was postponing the decision across. So that is one of the biggest problem in the remedial measure. You have to make a choice. You have to give up. There was a particular tennis star in UK who simply said that I wanted to go and fight for my country. I have a wife, I have a fledgling tennis career, I have 3 lovely children across, but I need to go and fight the Russians in the Kivi. I need to fight for the homeland across. He made clearly the choice. He was not dilly-dallying. He was not postponing. He simply took up the cause. The wife opposed it. The wife did not like it, but she felt this was the main thing. He had to do it across as a person. So you have to make a clear choice. There was a lady who we did the remedial measure across. She started getting a lot of proposal across as a person, and at that time there was an opportunity to go abroad. I told, please don't encash the remedial measure karma. You would find it very, very difficult across. You will have problem across. So please don't encash it. She went ahead and encashed it. She went abroad. After that, the marriage proposal completely closed across. So you have to understand that you have to make a choice. And the fourth most important thing is you should not encash the remedial measure energy. That is also one of the biggest problem with many people. They try to encash the remedial measure energy. The other one is, if you do the remedial measure, then it will have to be done specifically. Now many people come and say, why don't you do it for prosperity, marriage and childbirth and for my education? No, it does not work. It is like a medicine. It has a very, very specific value. It has a very, very specific intent across. So therefore, you can't say I would take medicines for the fever. The dysentery should stop. My eyesight should improve. My earsight should improve. Like that, trying to interlink multiple aims for a remedial measure does not work in the world of remedial measure. You have to understand that the remedial measure is like a proper, like marriage means marriage you do, childbirth means childbirth you do, work means work you do, growth in the finances means growth in the finances you do. Don't try to combine too many things across, because the energy will get weakened about in the sankalpa. The sankalpa is you are energizing a particular thought form, you are energizing a particular thing across. So this is one of the biggest problem with the remedial measure, trying to have too many link up across as a person. And the second thing is, manifestation is a step-by-step process. So one thing after another will happen in a sequence, in a coincidence, to have the remedial measure done across. But the many biggest problem is, many people try to aspire beyond their expectation, beyond their energy across, which means you have to do it for a number of years and it has to be done continuously across. So that is one of the biggest problem of the remedial measure, is that of the over expectation, that they think by doing a remedial measure they would be able to clear all energy. There was a lady who came for a particular purpose. She saw that I could do remedial measure. She asked me, I want to get my son in Madras Medical College in MMC across, so I want to know whether you can do the remedial measure. I told, no, it cannot be done. It is highly specific and it is like almost the energy is double or triple the energy what it is required. You need to do it for a long years across. It is a very shortened time, so we cannot help you across as a person. So become very, very clear that remedial measure cannot be done with over expectation and impossible goals across. Remedial measure is like a supplement. It will help you to reach your goals faster, happier, easier, but you have to accept that there are certain limitation in the manifestation across. The second thing is, the remedial measure has to be done consistently across. You have to do it for a month's sake, you have to do it for a year's sake, then the remedial measure will start having an impact across. Now many people Like for example, there was a homam which was done against by a politician Digvijay Singh against a particular lady. He did one homa and he expected to win over one homam. And Advani also did a homam before trying to become the prime minister. He tried it across. Unfortunately, it never manifested because they didn't understand the process of manifestation. You have to use repetition, you have to use volume, you have to do it for a number of days, for a period of time, to produce the impact in the remedial measure. So that's why Pragya Thakur could win the battle against Digvijay Singh, because he was trying to do the remedial measure just one time and it should have an impact. No, if the karma is very thin, you just do it one time, it will go. If the karma is very thick and there is a lot of problem across, that actually creates a lot of repetition is required to clear the energy across. The other important problem with the remedial measure is people are afraid to commit because they don't have money. Actually, I tell them, you do the remedial measure, you would be able to generate the money for the remedial measure with the first cycle itself. Somehow, miraculously, you would be able to generate the money with regard to the remedial measure across. Now, this is another problem with many people. Many people have priorities for, let's say, movies, for buying up clothes or buying up house across. But whereas to clear energy, they need to spend the money, which they are not very interested in doing it. So the other one is, now people try to do remedial measure which is like minimal across. Now you go to Kalahasti. I have nothing against Kalahasti temple, but the way it is done, one sankalpa is taken across, and for everybody one sankalpa. It's like they don't tell the Gotra, they don't tell the Nakshatra, they don't connect the Gotra and the Nakshatra. Gotra and the Nakshatra is connecting the spiritual cord of the person to the divine light. When you chant the name of the person, it is a user ID. The Nakshatra or Gotra is the password by which you log in across, and it connects to the Antakarna. The divine lights get connected. But unfortunately, they don't do it. They simply do a general sankalpa, and one ashtotra is done. It is like taking one small laddu and giving it to many people across, and that is one of the biggest problem with the remedial measure. It is done on a mass scale. Remedial measure are done on an individual scale as an individual thing. Then only it will have a maximum impact into the person's life across. So therefore, you have to understand that the remedial measure do have an impact into the personal life across, but it has to be done on the individual scale. Doing remedial measure in the mass scale. Now, for example, they do Chaturthi Puja, they do the Sankalpa, everybody is just one general Sankalpa, and then the pouring of the milk and the other thing, it does not produce the impact. It is like taking one plate full of halwa, distributing it for 50 people. Whereas we do the individual remedial measure where it is done specifically for the person, and it specifically produces the impact for the person across. Therefore, please understand that the remedial measure are an individual thing across. Like that, there are various reasons why the marriage remedial measure does not work, where the children remedial measure does not work. This is one of the biggest problem across, which I would talk to you in the coming videos, which will help you to clear the energy as far as the remedial measures are concerned. And therefore, you have to use the remedial measure. It is using the clearing the energy aura chakra of a person, but you have to work with the form level also, form level to bring in the change, and that is how you will bring lot of success with regard to the remedial measure. I really wish may all the people remedial measure do work, and it can have a massive impact. Thank you.